of the concrete, it was observed using a petrographic examination was carried out. Now, did anybody find out what is a petrographic examination? Hmm? Yes or no? No, when you people were at home,
It
all of
is
you were
something
responding
related to.
good. Yeah. Hmm?
It is something related to visual inspection.
Yeah. So petrographic examination means there is a petrographic microscope which is use optical properties in order to assess the rock structures. Yes, and so the same equipment was used in order to study the how the concrete is embedded in that particular or whatever concrete that has been put. What is the structure and what is the how much is the voids and everything was studied using a petrographic examination. So that revealed that the quality of the concrete is pretty good, and the bonding between the major portions, it is all good. So from the core studies and from this petrographic examination, it came to light that okay, the concrete appears to be in a very good condition except for those places where the segregation has happened. Yes, so and also the concrete, whatever concrete that has been placed is well consolidated. Yeah, so based on that, then what they did was they did a video examination. So here, camera was sent into the now the holes where the bores were taken. So you are able to observe the interiors of that borehole. So there were two cameras placed at 90 degrees, and the cameras were able to rotate through 360 degree. It was capable of capturing pictures through 360 degree. So the camera was sent into the borehole, and the interiors of these boreholes were observed. So from that also it was observed that it was not much unusual behavior or unusual cavity formations or anything were observed in the boreholes also. Then another thing that they did was the whether there were large number of voids formed in the concrete. So that was assessed using a test which is called as a Packer test. So this Packer test is nothing but they are pumping water under very high pressure into these boreholes. Boreholes, when I say normally borehole, we talk in the case of soil. So here, to remove the core samples from the concrete, the holes were dug. So they are also being referred to here as a boreholes. So water is pumped under very high pressure through these holes, and the water is maintained at that pressure. Yes, so that ensures that there is no voids, because if there is voids inside, automatically the water will flow through that and the water pressure will drop off. Yes, so that method, packet test, was conducted in order to assess whether there were much voids inside the the deficiencies wherever it was observed. So from all this, it was, what was the conclusion? What did they conclude? It was observed that the concrete is the concrete that is in place is actually good, and that the integrity of the concrete is not compromised, and also a restoration and reconstruction program would be sufficient to bring the structure to its required strength and load carrying capacity, rather than going for a complete replacement of the structure. So then they did the concreting, reconcreted the entire thing, and then again whatever processes we have described so far, taking out the core samples and Packer test and everything, was again redone on the concrete that was laid on top in order to assess their properties. Yes, and then the entire thing. So that was also found to be very good. So then the structure was completed without much, without any without for the original strength or for the load to be carried. So the investigation. So in the when you are doing the repair or the concreting or repair rehabilitation works on the structure, what happens is that the whatever concrete is there, some of them will need to be chipped off, and then the new concrete will have to be put, so that there is proper bonding between the materials. So here an adhesive or a bonding agent, which is called as a SICA, SIKA. This SIKA, SICA is nothing but it is a grout that is normally used for the repair of the concretes. It's being used to repair the concrete. So that was pumped in, and that the grout and the high strength grout mixture that was mixed with this particular Sika. So it is actually a glue kind of thing. So that was also mixed with the grout, and it was pumped into the places where there were voids. So that went and filled up the entire thing. Also, wherever the holes were there, that was also filled with the filled, and then the effectiveness was also verified by again drilling boreholes into it. And then finally, once the results are back and it was found that everything is good, then all these holes are again filled with the required amount of ground and concrete, and the adhesive also. So then only difficulty was for the overhead beams, where pumping of these stuff was they were finding it a bit difficult, but then the alternative methods were also adopted, and that process was completed. Yes, and so that process was completed, and then the article also gives you how the position of the boreholes were decided, where it needs to be taken, and what are the actions that need to be done. So all that was properly marked, and then this process has been carried out. So the repair was completed, and the structure was designed as per the basic design and the load carrying capacity. It was completed, and it was given for the use or intended use. And so by applying or by the application of forensic engineering techniques into this building, huge amount of savings in the economy or the cost of the building has been achieved. Yes, so by applying the principles of forensic engineering, they found out that okay, things are good here, we do not have to go for a complete replacement, rather a repair and a rehabilitation process should be fine. So imagine how much amount of money is saved in the process. Yes, so that is the application of forensic engineering in the restoration of the building. Yes, so when we talk about, so suppose you have a question where we ask about how forensic applications of forensic engineering in the different things, you will have to supplement your answer with these case studies. That is why I have been giving these case studies, and also these case studies give you an idea about how things are done. So tomorrow when you are acting or you are appearing as a forensic engineer, then you should know, okay, these are the methods that I need to adopt, these are the things that I need to adopt. Along with your personal judgment, you should be able to say, okay, these things have to be done, which enable us to come to a fine conclusion, because there are a lot of processes involved, there are a lot of activities involved. So it may not be possible to say, okay, you do follow a certain set of steps that you will be able to do a complete forensic engineering. So that is not literally possible, because of the huge amount of work involved, because of the huge amount of the different investigators involved in this particular process. So, but the forensic engineering can be applied for the repair, and it is not just for the assessment of what caused the damage, but also by applying the principles, we are able to save an existing structure from being completely demolished, and also it is resulting in the savings in the cost. So that is some important aspect, or that is how the application of forensic engineering in the restoration and repair of the building was applied. Yes, so this will be an example. So if a question is asked how they regarding the applications, you can talk about this, where the repair and rehabilitation work was done based on the investigative results of a forensic engineering team. Okay, now so that is done, and Now, so this unit we have been like it is generally classified. These are the classifications that are there. So under each category, there is nothing much to talk about. What we will be we were discussing how all these components or all these aspects of, after the failure has happened, how it is utilized or how it is applied in the field of civil engineering. So that was what we have been discussing. So how do we do a for civil engineering investigation? So so failure, when failure, like we discussed so far, it doesn't mean that it is a complete catastrophic failure where there is complete damage, but rather even the cracked concrete walls and the bulging walls, everything is classified as a failure. So assessing them is also a process of forensic engineering. Yes. So why this assessment, why the proper assessment is required is because the repair process, it's also the cost involved is very high. So you do a repair work and then still the issue is not solved, then there is no point after spending so much amount of money. So that is why there are a lot of people involved in the civil engineering process, where all of them come together in order to enable you to come to the conclusion that this is the issue here. Yes, and this needs to be done in order to rectify this particular issue. Okay, so this that becomes significant. The number of people involved and the amount of experts that are involved here are very high, and that is justified because the repairing cost is also very high. Yes, so earlier the done, the better. And also proper assessment. You do something, again the same problem is repeated, then what is the process? The money spent is a waste. Okay, so for to make the correct judgment, to make the correct decision, what is important is experience. The experience is a very important factor when we are talking about the forensic engineer. Yes. So another thing that was there that I found out that you should be able to appreciate is that a person who is a good designer need not be a good forensic investigator. Similarly, a person who is a good forensic investigator also need not be a good designer. Now, what is the difference between a designer and a forensic investigator? Hmm? What is the difference between a designer and a forensic investigator? Yes, designer and forensic investigator. Who is a designer? Who is a forensic investigator? What does a designer do? Yes.
Designer will rebuild the failure structure.
Designer rebuilds. You design something. Okay, when you design something, when you say she's a designer, she's a fashion designer or some designer, then what is it that you are talking about? It is something that he or she is creating something new. Yes, so designer is somebody who designs something new. So civil engineer is a designer when he is creating something new. But a forensic investigator, he investigates into what went wrong. And again, you need the help of a civil engineer in order to repair or rehabilitate that particular damage that was observed. So, forensic investigator gives an idea of what went wrong or what is there. what is the defect there, and then with the help of other civil engineers and with the help of other investigative engineers, he will be doing the repair and rehabilitation work on it. Yes, but a designer is a person who is designing new things. Okay, so a designer need not always be a good forensic investigator, because he has to investigate, he has to look into what went wrong. Creating something new is different, but here you are required to find out what went wrong. So the main aspect that we are talking about here is experience. You need to have experience. That is why all the data that is obtained as a part of the forensic investigation is to be recorded, is to be made available to the public. Yes, is to be made available to the people in common. And another thing is, so that is why we say that whatever data, whatever it has to be, it has to be talked about, it has to be discussed, it has to be published, so that everybody gets to know about what needs to be done and what should not be done, that such and such a situation doesn't arise. So for all this, what is important? Your experience and your knowledge about the various aspects of engineering. So that is very important. So, what are the common steps that are involved in the investigative process? Yes, you have seen two case studies where a forensic investigation was conducted on the to civil engineering structures. So, what did you observe? What were the steps that was carried out? Yes. So, first there was an objective, or there was a definition of the what is the investigation about. Then you are required to collect the preliminary document review and background information. So either you get it from the documents, or what people talk about regarding that particular building that was there, or data or the information that you obtain from the engineers and other people involved. Then you do and recognize and survey. You can talk to the eyewitnesses, that is people around there, and get their input about what exactly was happening, or what exactly had happened at that particular place. Then you have to put in, you have to go through all the documents, comprehensive all the collection of documents, the entire set of documents pertaining that building have to be properly analyzed. Another thing is, you could do a theoretical analysis. You could say, okay, these things happen, so maybe it is because of this, that this. Another one is, you can test your samples in the lab, get the data, and again what we can do is, in the present day, we can do a mathematical modeling, or you can do a modeling of this one in the particular condition, subject them to the loads and find out how they behave. If the behavior in the modeling matches with the behavior in the actual site, you can say, okay, this is what has happened. Yes, this is what must have happened during that particular time, and that is why it is behaving in this particular manner. So that is one thing that we need to know. And then the procedure responsibilities. And finally, the aspect is report writing, because this report will be submitted in the court of law, and it will be a document, or it will be the basis on which the decision will have to be made. So these are the common process. This is common to all of the forensic investigation process. Yes, everywhere almost these process, these kind of the set of processes will remain the same. Okay, so wherever required, we send it to the lab to get the data. Wherever required, we may be able to assess the data by ourselves. Yes, so that, and finally, all this has to be put in the report form, and then that is to be submitted, and it should also be made available for the further engineers, so that they can make use of this particular data. Yes, and what else? So, what is the role of forensic investigator? What do you think is the role of a forensic investigator, and how do you think should the investigation be carried out? Hmm? So there will always be a project coordinator. Yes, so project coordinator will be in charge of all the activities, and he will be assigning the location of the boreholes where it needs to be done and what is the action to be taken at that point. So all that information will be decided by the project coordinator, and everybody will be reporting to the project coordinator. Okay, so and one thing that we have to be very careful about is the safety of the people involved, because a structure that is in the process of collapsing may it is halfway through and it is standing, it can come down at any time. So the safety aspect of this people involved is very, very important. Yes. So, and another thing that we have to be, or the forensic team has to be quite aware of, is the speed with which they collect the data, because when no, the forensic investigator may not be always able to reach the site and gather the data, or because sometimes there may be rescue operations that need to be done. So in that case, quickly, the quicker you are there at the site to do the investigation, you at least have you are able to take photographs of how the site looked like and how it is all about, and also definitely you get your informations from the eyewitnesses and pictures that people have taken, photographs that people have taken at that site. But as a forensic engineering team, only you know what you are looking for, what is it that is important, which area you need to focus on while taking which area you need to be concentrating on while you are taking the photograph. So that is something that is very important. Yes. So before all this processes happens, you have to be there to get all your data. Yes, the photographs. Another thing is you can even make a request as a forensic engineer to delay the activity if no human life is or safety is without compromising the safety, and if no human the rescue operations or nothing like that need to be done, then you can even take your own time. I know you can ask them to hold on before that the forensic investigation is completed, and then they do the removal and the repair and the rehabilitation process. Yes, so that is something that we have to be very careful, that a forensic engineer has to be very careful about. And another duty that we talk about for a forensic engineer is he should be able to he should be you visit the site and he should have gone through all the drawings and data. Also he should be able to documentation of how the structure is. So that also have to be noted down, and that has to be. So these are the processes that is involved, or that is that a forensic engineer has to do. Yes, so we have studied two case studies. We have gone through two case studies. We have observed how things were done. Now this is a generalized case. These are the things that normally that is happening at a site where the forensic investigation is required. Yes, so then he has to the forensic investigator will have to do a written record. He has to keep things in writing, because whatever he puts it in writing, in that becomes a sole that becomes what you say the proof in the court of law. So that will be taken as a proof in the court of law. So everything has to be put it in writing or put it in drawing, rather than doing a recording of your observations. If you do it in writing and drawing, it is there for everybody to see. Yes, so these are the, and then the significance of photography in forensic investigation. So that is something that we will be learning, or how the photogrammetry is applied in order to gather data, or to get evidence. So that is what we will be looking at in the last unit, where we are looking at how photogrammetry can help you in a forensic investigation. So taking photograph is a mandatory. Yes, because always the site as it is will not be available for you to go back and take a look at it. So you will have to create the data, you will have to create the crime scene, or you will have to create the forensic investigation that you need to do, that gather that information from the photographs that is there. Yes, and then sample. So you want to take samples from there, that like how we have discussed in the previous case study, they were doing removing core from the concrete core. Yes, you have learned about non-destructive testing, right? What are the different non-destructive testing methods that are there? Hmm? What are the different non-destructive testings that are there? Non-destructive testing methods. You do not know non-destructive testing? Yes or no?
Rebound hammer test, ma'am.
Rebound hammer then. Only rebound hammer is used to do non-destructive testing. Yeah. Look up what are the non-destructive
Electronic
methods.
pulse method.
Huh?
Electronic pulse method.
Ultrasonic testing.
Extra?
Pulse method, ma'am.
Ultrasonic pulse velocity.
Acoustic emission testing.
Acoustic emission testing. So that is how. So without removing the core, so without removing the sample itself, you are able to do an investigation. But in some cases, when the thickness of your structure is large, then automatically we will have to do a core removal. We will have to remove the cores, and you will have to do a investigation process. Yes. So the number of size, the number of samples, or the size of the sample, it is all depends upon the what it is that we are investigating into. Yes, so that will be decided by the principal investigator. Then another source of information is the eyewitness. But then all people may not be able to give you a accurate information. But if this work is going on at the sites, then maybe the construction workers will give you an accurate or to the point information about what exactly happened at that point of time. So the others, it is not, you cannot trust on the feedback that they give you. But definitely you can gather information from the eyewitnesses. Yes. Now, how do you do a structural investigation? The guideline is provided there is a guidelines based on which the investigation needs to be carried out. That is a guideline for structural condition assessment of existing building. So this is a guidelines that has been laid down by ASCE, and based on these you can assess the structural conditions of your building. So then the load test can be done, and what are the different equipments that you will be using in order to assess your building. Yes, how that the how do you how do you do data collection? How is data collected? Nowadays, it is all done with electronic equipments. Yes, you do not have to be there to collect the or to be there manual reading measurement or nothing is there. Everything is automated. So you have electronic equipments to do that. So once you have required equipment, then you will get your data into your computers, which you just need to analyze the data and give your feedback about it. So what are the equipments that we normally use? Some are the strain gauges, then there is LVDTs and displacement transducers. So all these are equipments that are the instrumentation that is involved in any civil engineering process. Yes, so these are the things, so these are the steps that are mainly involved in the assessment data gathering process. Now, how do you gather information, or how do you gather information from the concrete, from steel, from wood? So all these different materials, they need you know different techniques, or different applied techniques need to be applied in order to gather the information from all these processes. So for tomorrow, I want you to look at how or what are the different methods, or how do you gather data from metals, if the metals are involved, and that is steel, you can say, and then the concrete masonry structures. So how can you measure data, or how can you do an investigative process on the structures built using concrete, masonry, wood, and metals? So what is the procedure, or what is the technique that needs to be done is something that you will look up and come for tomorrow's class. Okay. So in addition to this, in addition to checking or doing investigations on all these, we will have to go ahead and do a subsurface investigation. Yes, either we can do a non-destructive testing, or in some cases, when we want the information, geotechnical information, then we will have to go and do the field tests. So there again, boreholes will be dug, the surface, the level of the surface water, and what is the in place testings like the pile load test or plate load test. All these will be done, and the data obtained from that will also be utilized in framing the conclusions. Yes, so why the structure has failed, or why it did fail. So all that can be investigated by studying not just the structure alone, but all the geotechnical aspects, and every aspect needs to be properly assessed. Yes. So once all the data is collected, what do you need to do? You have to compile them and prepare the required documents. So there's a huge lot of document that is involved. I think I have given you the documentation regarding that uh, pedestrian bridge failure in Florida. Yes, I think I have given you what the documents regarding that. So, or the other documents that are information that we discussed about, the building failures that has happened, and the report given by OSHA. Yes, so that is how your report should be. It is a comprehensive report, a solid report with all the data, with all the supporting documents, and with all the conclusions and references, and everything has to be put in place. And so that becomes, the report becomes a very integral part of your um, uh, uh, documentation process. And also I told you what is what is the one other thing that has made the analysis very easy in today's times is the softwares that we have to do a mathematical modeling and a theoretical analysis. We have a lot of softwares. We have ANSYS, SAP, all these things which enable us to assess the failure pattern of the building. Yes. So even in some cases, when you are not able to come to a particular conclusion, you are not able to arrive at a solid conclusion, then the analysis of the buildings in the softwares will definitely enable us to come to a particular conclusion. Yes. So that is a finite element analysis process, and or a modeling processes. This is definitely a boon where, or it has become come to the aid of the civil engineers in making a correct forensic judgment. Okay, so these are the steps that are involved in the assessment. So we have again seen so initially last class what I gave you was 2 case studies. We followed them step by step. We tried to understand what they did in each of the processes. Yes, how the forensic engineering was carried out. So today I have given you a brief generalized overview of how a civil engineering work needs to be carried out. So now you are able to relate the both. So these are the steps that is being generally talked about, and what has been followed at site for the 2 case studies we have looked at. Yes. So that is the process that needs to be adopted in a general civil engineering forensic investigation. Okay, so please So when you are asked to write about the forensic investigation, civil engineering investigation, you will have to give the generalized description about what needs to be done step by step, and what are the processes involved, and then you can supplement your answer with the case study of how the work was carried out at any one of the site where the repair and rehabilitation work was carried out, and they were able to do it because of by applying the principles of forensic engineering. Okay, so this is how you will have to supplement your answers to the question. The question may be how do you do conduct, or what is the processes involved, or how a forensic civil engineering investigation is carried out, but always supplement your answer with a suitable case study. Clear? Okay. I think so that we will wind up for today. Now some portions that is pending is here. So I think unit 3 we have I've given you the given you a brief overview with the 2 case studies, also how the civil engineering and the investigations are carried out, and what all things needs to be looked into the geotechnical investigation, the laboratory investigations. So all the topics in the module 3 we have touched upon and we have discussed. So anything you want to discuss, then please bring it up. We will have a discussion in the next class. Okay. Next, we will be moving on to the 4th unit and the 5th unit. So 5th unit is basically how to do your report, and also how to use forensic photogrammetry in order to reconstruct the damage or the failure that has happened, and also how the legal aspects are dealt with. Yes. Now 4th unit is basically how do you do an inspection to assess the damages in a residential building or concrete building or steel buildings. Okay, so with that, so these 2 units, and I think we can finish up the portion. And I believe you know that your exam starts on February 8th. Yes? Your university starts on February 8th.
Ma'am, we didn't
Also,
get any.
yes?
We didn't get any information about that.
You were not informed? Okay, it is supposed to start on 8th. So I believe you have completed your first internal. So now we will have a second internal test.
Also,
Hmm?
online or offline?
Online or offline? It looks like it's going to be online. I'm not sure. You will have to take it up with, discuss it with Joanna ma'am. Talk to Joanna ma'am and find out. Okay. And please check your ERP attendance. If we have missed anything, do let us know so that we can correct it. If you were there for the registration and I have marked you absent or something, just let me know so that I can put in the attendance, so we don't have to, because for you minimum attendance 75% attendance is mandatory. Okay, so if you do not have 75, you may not be permitted to write the exam. So that is why, so you will have to just check it whether you have the required and attendance. And Ergibe and Mikias, you also just check up and let me know, because a lot of days you were not able to connect because of your internet issues. So do check how much attendance you have. Okay. And so I think I'll wind up for today. You have the next hour, right? Yeah. Okay then. Thank you.
Thank you.